Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Pepper Revenge. This channel is all about crazy true stories, stuff that happens in real life when things get a little bit messy, people dealing with drama, cheating, lies, breakups, and even revenge. Some stories are wild, some are emotional, but all of them will keep you watching. If you like real talk and real situations, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stick around. This is Crazy Pepper Revenge, where the stories get spicy. Looking back on this insane journey, I can't believe how naive I was when it all started. My wife Kay and I met in college. She was everything I wanted: beautiful, smart, full of life. I truly believed I'd found my soulmate. We spent all our time together, and I thought we were destined for lifelong happiness. We married 12 years ago after she got pregnant senior year. Our daughter Sally was born 5 months later, followed by our son Kevin a year and a half after that. But marriage reality hit hard. The carefree days gave way to adult responsibilities. The woman I once adored began to feel like a complete stranger. Our lives became consumed with raising kids, managing careers, and navigating her toxic family dynamics. The love that once burned so brightly began to fade, and I found myself stuck in a marriage that was far from the fairy tale I'd imagined. Our physical relationship had reached a breaking point. What used to be 5 times a week in college had dwindled to maybe once a month, and only if my wife wasn't holding some grudge against me. She'd become distant, uninterested in any closeness, almost like she despised it entirely. No longer the attractive, lively woman I married, she seemed to have transformed into someone who actively avoided me. Kay has two younger sisters, Katie and Kathy. All three were known for being fun and lively, especially in the bedroom, and I was thrilled when Kay chose me over other guys. But her whole family looked down on me because I couldn't provide the luxuries they wanted for Kay. Her parents, who never worked a day in their lives, lived off inheritances and constantly made me feel inadequate. Though I discovered through property records years later that they were actually going broke. Katie married Ron, who supposedly ran his dad's dry cleaning stores. Kathy married Mark, who claimed to own a marketing firm after inheriting money from his grandparents. Both seemed successful at parties, but were useless when it came to real work. Meanwhile, I was working long hours at a job I hated just to support everyone's lifestyle. 2 years ago, I sat in my home office after yet another morning of having to take care of myself in the shower and took a brutally honest look at my life. Almost no sex, a lazy wife who didn't work, two kids who didn't respect me and took after their mother, a job where the company treated us like servants, living in a house near her parents in a climate I hated. I grew up in the South and despise cold weather. I was driving a 10-year-old car that was originally my wife's until she wrecked it. Then she traded in my car and bought herself a new one because she couldn't wait for repairs. I wasn't even allowed to drive the new car without facing verbal misuse and complete sexual rejection. We were paying for a house that was too big because we had to live near her family, paying for a sick inbred dog that needed constant medications, paying for a maid twice a week because housework supposedly made her too tired for sex 10 years ago. The small increase in closeness lasted exactly 2 months, but the maid was still around. We were paying for clubhouse and spa memberships so she could hang out with her friends and sisters. I didn't play golf and had never been to the spa. Weekly payments for new clothes and hairstyling because she needed to look good for her social obligations. Tennis lessons for her and the kids that none of them were any good at or ever used. We took 3 annual vacations every year. Winter skiing with her family, which I couldn't do because of a bad knee. Spring shopping trips to big cities and summer beach trips that I wasn't even invited to. Christmas and Thanksgiving were always spent at her family's houses. My parents lived in a small beach bungalow in the South, but their house was apparently too small to visit. One wife, 2 kids, and 9 in-laws who all constantly mocked me because I didn't have a family inheritance making life easy. I worked long hours, yet my wife and kids didn't appreciate any effort I put in to make their lives comfortable. And on top of all that crushing reality, my wife was cheating on me. I didn't stumble upon this discovery by accident. A few months before my life assessment, I wanted to figure out why Kay seemed so content without any physical closeness. Either she'd completely lost interest or was getting it elsewhere. So I decided to investigate properly. Living in a digital age, getting spyware, recorders, cameras, and monitoring software is surprisingly easy. I started by placing a recorder in her car, connected directly to the car battery for unlimited power, and set up a Bluetooth station in our garage to automatically download recordings to my home PC. Then, I installed discrete cameras in every room of the house, except the kids' bedrooms, and even covered outdoor areas like the patio, pool, and garage, all feeding directly to my computer. From early footage, I managed to figure out Kay's phone code, which she had kept secret from me throughout our entire marriage. Around 3 a.m. one night, I accessed her phone and installed monitoring software that allowed me to listen to all her calls and read every single message. I also upgraded our home internet to business class, enabling remote access to my home PC from my phone anywhere. 2 weeks later, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat in my office and listened to a recording from her car. I heard Kay say, "Can you meet this Thursday at my place? 10 works for me. I can't wait to ride you hard." The response, "Me too, babe. Love you." That hit me like a ton of bricks. I immediately shut down my computer and took the dog for a walk, seething with anger. I was prepared for the worst, but hearing it was still a gut punch. However, I realized I wasn't actually sad, just furious. The next morning, I faced the reality of my life, a cheating wife and a life full of completely one-sided commitments. I needed to get out of this nightmare, but first I had to identify the guy and gather hard evidence. I realized there were no relevant conversations on Kay's primary phone. She must have had another one. After staying late at work one night, I searched her car thoroughly and found the hidden phone in the front console's air vent, secured with Velcro. I used the same code as her primary phone, installed the monitoring software, and put everything back exactly as it was. Then I reviewed the results. 2 years worth of deleted but recoverable texts. What I found was absolutely shocking. The messages revealed that Kay and her sisters were actively comparing their lovers' performances and even discussing swapping partners like it was some kind of game. My wife's latest affair was with our daughter's soccer coach. Katie was pursuing a grocery store employee, but Kay and Kathy warned her that unmarried guys were off limits according to their mom's rules. Their mom actually had rules for cheating. Kathy was sleeping with a mechanic who had been with all three sisters, and their mom had been with him first. Kay had also slept with Ron and Mark occasionally, though her sisters encouraged her to keep them in line. I knew I needed a comprehensive exit strategy. The following week, I pretended to be completely clueless while starting arguments with Kay over household chores, which led her to snap at me. I made mental notes to restart these fights periodically and moved into the guest room, installing a deadbolt that I always kept locked. A week later, I had developed a complete plan. I wanted out of the marriage, out of my job, all the money, no alimony, and I didn't want the kids since she had completely ruined them. I wanted to hurt my in-laws financially and make Kay suffer mentally for as long as possible. Ultimately, I wanted to start completely over and build a real family with someone who actually appreciated me. I realized I had been foolish for years. Neither Kay nor her family appreciated a hardworking, devoted husband and father. Her parents, sisters, and their husbands were toxic, narcissistic people who only cared about getting what they wanted from others. I began to devise an elaborate plan to get her sisters divorced and leverage my in-laws to my advantage. It was time to take complete control of this situation. During family dinners at Katie's and Kathy's houses, I discreetly took close-up photos of alarm clocks, wall clocks, smoke detectors, and doorbell covers. At Mom's house, I snapped pictures of alarm clocks. I had already replaced all our smoke detectors at home with newer models a year ago. The hardest part was finding matching doorbell covers, but eBay came through perfectly. I hosted a pool party and invited everyone over. While they were swimming, I borrowed their house keys and installed monitoring software on all their phones, having learned their lock codes from previous recordings. During the party, I accidentally dropped a bag of ice. Katie snapped, "Are you completely useless? Go get more ice." I apologized and left. But on the way, I stopped by Mom's, Kathy's, and Katie's houses to make strategic replacements. I installed wireless monitoring boxes in their attics after connecting to their home networks. I also made copies of their house keys, grabbed some ice, and headed back. When I returned, Kathy sarcastically said, "It took you long enough." I made up a story about getting a flat tire. No one thanked me or showed any sympathy whatsoever. 2 days later, I had clear video proof of Kathy with the mechanic. They rushed inside, leaving a trail of clothes from the front door to the bedroom. No foreplay, just straight to business. Afterward, he said he needed to leave before his wife got suspicious. Kathy tried to convince him into another round, but he declined, saying he needed to save energy for his wife. As he left, he entered his phone code directly in front of my hidden camera. The next Thursday, I snuck into Kathy's house while they were busy and installed monitoring software on his phone, which was conveniently in his pants on the living room floor. Things escalated rapidly from there. The next day, I found out Katie's so-called lover was actually her uncle, and shockingly, her aunt was involved too. All three were in a state that made it clear this was no ordinary family moment. What happened next was easily the most unsettling thing I've ever seen. I endured watching it, thinking I'd rather be watching National Geographic documentaries. Later, I caught my wife in our own bedroom with Cheryl, our neighbor's wife, a stunning redhead. They were intimate the entire time, and I found myself actually enjoying that particular video. Afterward, Cheryl took a shower and left, walking home visibly affected by the encounter. Then came the biggest shocker of all. Ron and Mark entered Katie's bedroom together and undressed. I realized I never wanted to shake hands with either of them again after witnessing what followed. Finally, I reviewed footage from Katie's parents' house, though I skipped most of it because I didn't want to see them undressed. I did catch Katie's uncle with her mom while her dad watched from a chair next to the bed. It was easier to gather evidence than expected, but infinitely weirder than I could have imagined. Before sharing any videos, I had to remove all the recording equipment to prevent it from being traced back to me. I hosted another pool party and, accidentally, dropped another bag of ice. Kay teased, "Nice job, numbskull." Katie added, "Does he even have any?" Kathy joked, "Aren't they in your purse?" They all laughed, and even my daughter Sally mumbled, "Mom, why is he always so embarrassing?" This was the first time all 9 family members had mocked me simultaneously. I used the excuse to retrieve the cameras and replace them with regular items, all in the time it took to get a new bag of ice. I sent the video of Kathy with the mechanic to both her and Mark, then sent Katie's video with her aunt and uncle to her, and Ron with the message, "You shouldn't mess with another woman's husband." The sisters complained to their mother, who intervened with the usual, "for the sake of the children" manipulation. To push the husbands further, I sent Ron and Mark their own compromising videos with threats. "This will go public if you don't file for divorce on grounds of infidelity within a year." When they were complaining about their wives, I casually mentioned, "I think your in-laws are broke. I heard they have a second mortgage, no properties left, no savings, and no Social Security since they never worked." That was the final straw. Ron and Mark filed for divorce within a week, using the same attorney. It turned out Ron wasn't wealthy at all, just a manager at his dad's dry cleaning stores, living in a house his dad owned, driving company cars. Mark wasn't much better off, with only a small inheritance and trust fund that got split in the divorce. Meanwhile, I had been surveilling my boss, John, who was having an affair with his secretary, Sasha. I got John's wife to fire Sasha, then immediately hired her for my own software company at a 20% raise. I had Kay and her sisters seduce John at a hotel while I recorded everything, then sent the videos to John's wife, who turned out to be a mob boss's daughter. John's wife had him beaten and thrown out with nothing but his clothes and car. She froze all accounts and filed for divorce immediately. John's company collapsed as I systematically stole his clients with my superior software. His reputation was destroyed when I leaked videos of him with Ron and Mark throughout the industry. The next phase involved the fake inheritance. Kay received a letter about a deceased great-uncle leaving a trust fund, $4,000 monthly, or $20,000 if she had a baby named after him. She was ecstatic, immediately talking about getting pregnant. That's when I revealed I knew about her cheating and would never have sex with her again. She went through denial, anger, bargaining, trying seduction, lies, manipulation. Nothing worked. I told her I was filing for divorce on grounds of infidelity, having collected extensive evidence. She tried every trick in the book, but I had already secured an attorney and documented everything. I filed for uncontested divorce, giving Kay the house, though I'd secretly taken a second mortgage to fund my startup, half our small bank account, and her car. When she demanded half my company, I told her it wasn't worth anything on paper yet and threatened to change the grounds to infidelity. She signed quickly, clearly thinking, $20,000 a month, here I come. Kay immediately married the mechanic, spending all her money and the initial $4,000 on an elaborate wedding. When she went to claim her monthly payments, she learned the trust had already been awarded to another candidate. The confrontation was so severe that lawyers had to call police due to property damage. Kay showed up at my house in a red dress with no underwear, begging me to take her back. I photographed her and threatened to send it to her new husband unless she stayed away forever. Her last words were, "I'm sorry I ruined our marriage. I wish you had been enough for me." After Kay lost the trust money, I sent all the incriminating videos to everyone's spouses and relatives using Kay's email, triggering 13 divorces directly linked to Kay and additional ones from the fallout. The mechanic ended up with permanent damage after an incident with Katie and Cheryl. I married Sasha, who's now pregnant with our fourth child. My business thrived after destroying John's company and reputation. We moved to a beachfront property near my parents, where it's warm 300 days a year. I trained our 3 huge dogs to bark at a picture of my ex-wife. The twist? I was the executor of the trust fund all along, using my own money to create the fake inheritance. After getting my revenge and new life, I closed the trust to reclaim my investment. Sometimes the best revenge is living well while watching those who wronged you destroy themselves completely.